What's up, filmmakers and movie goers? This is the Easy Podcast, and we are on episode 10. 1-0.
Wow, episode X.
I thought we would have given it up by now.
Oh, I don't.
No, I'm just kidding.
We have too much fun doing this.
Yeah, that's true. So, guys, this is our 10th episode, and thanks for listening. If you've gone this far, hopefully you're liking what you're hearing. But we are talking about movies from a filmmaker's perspective. Sometimes we just straight up nerd out and completely lose all aspects of the filmmaking side. Mm-hmm. But we try and stay on topic a little bit. And today we're going to be talking about two movies that we saw over the last week, which is Thanksgiving week here for us Americans.
Yeah.
And that was Creed 2 and
Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It Ralph 2. Two sequels.
Which is out, Ralph wrecks the internet.
Ralph breaks the internet.
Breaks the internet.
Yeah,
He's just up to wrecking things.
Well, that title, title wrecks me because it should just be Ralph wrecks the internet. I understand break the internet is a phrase.
Yeah.
But it's Wreck-It Ralph. Ralph wrecks the internet is what it should be.
It should be, but somebody behind in some boardroom probably were, concerned about the SEO and then they're like, well, if we title it breaks the internet, then maybe we'll get more social clicks and
maybe, I don't know. I feel like
although
they probably had a lot of people talking about it because it wasn't what everyone expected it to be.
Perhaps.
So maybe it did work in their favor.
Yeah.
We're
talking about it.
Yeah, that's true. In your showing, did they have the little intro by the three directors or whatever before the movie?
Yes, they did.
That was like the weirdest thing. Disney's been doing that a lot lately. They did that with Coco also before Pixar. They had like a little intro by
I didn't see the
filmmakers.
Intro, yeah. Like, okay, they wanted to do something fun and creative, to say thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
it didn't help.
I
Because
give people
so
the benefit of the day. It was on the cheese side.
Yeah.
And
like the fake digital buffering and
right. The one that I did appreciate that was like that was Incredibles 2. Because it was 14 years in the making.
Oh, right.
And then they had the original cast. You had the original cast come on and that was done. I thought it was tastefully done.
Yeah.
This one I thought I don't know.
Yeah, it seemed more like a pat us on the back. We made a movie,
right?
Than really like this is the hard work that we put into it.
Yeah, like, hey, yay, look at me.
Yeah, I guess. They are the directors and the creators of this movie, but I guess I don't know. It just felt like three pocketbooks, like sitting in front of a camera and less about like actual creatives sitting in front of a camera and talking about their vision over the whole thing. Yeah. It just kind of felt, I don't know, it felt a little ham-fisted, I guess.
Yeah, I could see that. I could totally see that. It did seem out of place, and it was like, I'm coming to see it. It's not like, if we're going to compare the intro to Incredibles 2, it doesn't compare. It's different. It was done differently, even though it was the same type of intro with the people.
Yeah, they didn't have John C. Reilly in there, or like Sarah Silverman,
right?
I don't know. It felt strange to me. Maybe it's because this movie, the first one was only 6 years old, and it wasn't like we were really waiting super long. The first one came out in 2012.
Right.
So I don't know. Anyways, I think that's probably enough talking about that.
Yeah.
But so the other movie is Creed 2 that we saw.
Yes, we did. Matter of fact, I just got out of it and ran right over here.
Yeah. So
so it's fresh.
Yeah. Not the return of Ryan Coogler, but
no.
But that's all right. We'll talk about that in a minute. What have you been up to though? Let's start with that.
Yeah, what have I been up to? Well, it was Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
So
did you eat a lot of food?
I didn't. I ate food. Yeah.
Yeah.
Food, the code.
Yeah. Right. Oh.
Anyway, that was an Elf reference, by the way.
Actually, I didn't get that.
You didn't. You don't.
No, I'm gonna say it here. I'm gonna say it here on the podcast. I think Elf is an overrated Christmas movie.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, Well, this has been a fun episode. It is now, so we're going to have to redesign the branding. It's now going to be the E. It's going to be the No More EZ, Just Z podcast.
Yeah.
Dude, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now?
I don't like it.
Oh,
I think it's fine.
Man.
I think it's fine, but it's a lot of just like screaming at the camera. That like every time,
Elf?
Yeah, every time something happens, he's like yelling Santa, or I don't know. It just seems like maybe I just don't like.
You don't like kids.
What?
Because kids
What are you
scream.
talking about? I just watched
You totally
Home Alone.
acted like a kid. Okay. Macaulay Culkin does not act like
Macaulay
a
Culkin.
Yeah, you got me all frazzled right now. I'm so like, I can't believe you just said that about like almost the great dude.
Okay. All right. You finish that sentence because I'm going to rip you apart. Almost the greatest Christmas movie of all time.
I said almost. Okay, that's going a little far, but it is a classic for our generation.
I guess it just doesn't hit me the same as the classic Christmas movies. There's something about it that's like, it seemed, gosh, this is going to sound like.
I'm calling Jon Favreau right now.
Go for it. I'm sure he won't pick up. But look, something about it seems so corporate to me.
Mm-hmm.
More like gosh, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it has as much heart as like the John Hughes Christmas movies, or even like Christmas Vacation or A Christmas Story. I don't know. There's something about those movies that I feel like they have something that Elf doesn't have.
It's because of the nostalgia. But
I wasn't even alive when those ones came out.
Yeah, but did you watch them growing up?
Yeah.
Okay. So just because when it first came out doesn't necessarily mean that's when the nostalgia starts.
So you think in 20 years I'll like Elf more?
Well, I hope so. I hope, maybe. I mean, for me, it's a tradition in my house. Thanksgiving weekend hits, not before.
No,
it's like playing Christmas music before Thanksgiving. Just don't.
Black Friday is the start.
And then we turn on, and actually we didn't do it because we were going to go see The Grinch, but then my daughter hijacked it and we went and saw Wreck-It Ralph instead. But it was fine. It was great. We got to have time. And then my older daughter, who was home for Thanksgiving, was a little feeling under the weather, who doesn't like watching movies. I know I'm not parenting properly, but she sat down on the couch and turned on a movie, and I'm like, yes, I'm chilling with. And what did she turn on? Nacho Libre.
That's not even a Christmas movie.
It wasn't even a Christmas movie, but we were doing it together, and I was totally fine with that.
That's another movie I haven't seen all the way through.
Yeah. Well,
our friendship is in danger right now.
It is.
Anyways.
This podcast is
nearing its end.
it's had a good run.
Yeah,
it's
10 episodes.
It's on rocky soil right now.
Us 10 episodes before we hated
rocky
each other.
Soil.
Rocky
no
soil.
pun intended.
Oh my gosh.
Here it comes. The Creed segue.
I have to work with every week.
I bring the bad dad jokes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I bring the disappointment. Anyways, moving on from Elf. So you didn't watch it this weekend, but you had some turkey. What'd you eat? What was your favorite thing you ate?
Okay, so we went over to some friend's house. The cranberry sauce that Tiffany made. Tiffany's Jose's wife, and so Jose and Tiffany's a couple, and their kids, and our daughters are friends and whatnot. Tiffany made this mashed potatoes, but they weren't mashed; they were grated, and.
Wait, how do you grate a mashed potato?
She boiled the potatoes to almost finish, not completely finished. Peeled them, then grated them with the cheese grater.
Oh,
added
like a hash brown?
Added sour cream. Hold on, added sour cream and cheese
mashed it all
and
together.
It was like this concoction of amazing goodness.
Jeez,
and the best. "Quote unquote" mashed potatoes that I'd ever had.
So they were like a potato casserole almost.
But it was all, mashed together, but the consistency was have you ever had mashed potatoes and you get like lumpy chunks of potato, which is what you would expect, right? But the consistency was smooth all the way through. Oh, and there was like a stick of butter added to it too. Yeah, so it was. So I don't usually do leftovers. Now I'll do a turkey sandwich now and then after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I ate all the mashed potato. My wife took a big thing of Tupperware, and I'm like, hey, where? She was driving my other daughter back to Palm Springs, and I said, hey, where's the mashed potatoes? You eat them all? And she's like, no, they're in the Tupperware. And I go digging through, found it, ate all the mashed potatoes. There's still turkey and stuffing and everything else in there. And
Just the mash.
yeah, it was that good.
I had, we made a turkey and some other stuff, but I had this pie that was like a Reese's peanut butter whip pie.
Oh, wow.
It was good.
It was good, meaning
good.
there's no more left.
There's a little bit left, but it won't be tonight.
Dang it. I'm like, when am I coming over? I want to try some of this amazing.
It's really good. Every time I take a bite, I'm just like, oh, this is so good. every bite.
Wow. That does sound amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's enough, I think, about Thanksgiving. What have you been working on anything?
Yeah, let's see. I tweaked my YouTube channel a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a review from the Niminati, which
The what?
the look on your face, dude.
The Niminati?
This is why we need to video this.
Yeah.
So Nick and Dee Nimin are brothers, and they're like YouTube experts, and they help you with your YouTube stuff. And do
they work for YouTube?
No, but they're certified, and they have. I mean, they're
YouTube specialists.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I know probably more Nick and Dee has kind of been coming on in the last year or so, but just great. They gave me some really good feedback that I made some quick tweaks to, like pulling it up on the mobile device. My name was covered up by my little icon, and they're like, hey, you should move that over. And then add what value you bring, because it was just my name, and I'm like, oh, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, that's why our background's just yellow.
Yeah.
So you can't accidentally cover up anything.
Right, yeah.
And where can they see us on YouTube?
It's great. The Easy Podcast Show.
Yeah. And we upload, I don't want to say video versions of these because it's just our icon. But if YouTube Red's your thing, or YouTube, is it called YouTube Red anymore? I don't even.
I think so.
YouTube.
I mean,
music, whatever. Anyways, you can find us on there and listen through that way if you want to. But I haven't been working on anything.
Nothing.
Because
you've been playing Red Dead Redemption. Dude, seriously, we're going to change the title of the podcast
I'm not
to
talking,
Zach Plays Red Dead Redemption.
You brought it up.
Again.
You brought it up.
There it is.
All right.
What's the guy's name?
Arthur Morgan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Artie?
No. Anyways, I don't know if this is embarrassing or not.
I don't think it's embarrassing.
But 75 hours I've put into the game now.
Wow. That's like a full-time job.
Yeah. Like for a week. Yeah. I'm not proud of it. I'm a little proud.
Yeah, you are.
I'm a little proud.
Of course you are. You wouldn't have said it.
Yeah. Well, it was bad because Thursday, Thanksgiving was Thursday, and we were slow cooking everything, so I had downtime.
Sure. And, we're gonna slow cook that, right, honey? Yes. Okay. Well, I guess I'm just gonna play some.
I just have to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was
like, she didn't have any other ideas.
I was at 45 hours into it on Thursday, and I looked last night, and it said 75.
Wow.
That's
10 hours a day in the last 3 days.
Yeah. I'm not that I'm not proud of.
So what you're really working on, what you're trying to say is that you're working on this story idea based in the Red Dead Redemption universe.
Well, it's funny you say that because Friday I was playing through it, and you can do this thing. I played on the Xbox One, and
not a sponsored plug, by the way.
No. I have no loyalty at all unless somebody pays me, and then in that case, let me know. But I was playing it I played on the Xbox One, and you can tell the Xbox, because I have the Kinect with it too. You can tell the Xbox, record that, and so it's.
So you have 75 hours of recorded material.
Well, no, because it only records like the last, I think it's like last minute, last 60 seconds or something like that. But I started doing that more because there was these moments in the game that like have nothing to do with the storyline or anything. They're just, you're standing on a cliff and then the storm's rolling in from the distance and it's just this wide shot and you can put it in what they call cinematic mode. So it brings the 235 to 1 bars down.
Yep.
And I'll just say Xbox, record that, Xbox, record that, Xbox, take a screenshot of that, Xbox, record that. So I've started like creating these visual moments. And it's interesting because I'm actually like looking at composition and stuff because you can kind of move the camera around a little bit.
Oh, wow.
And I've never done this with a game. There was a game that I would put this game in the same like league with, and that's The Last of Us, which was on the PlayStation 3. When I played it, it was on the PlayStation 3. And it had like a photo mode that you could do, but I never did anything like this. So it's kind of, it speaks volumes to like the medium of video games and like kind of where we've come, at least where Rockstar, who's the company that makes Red Dead Revolver, that's the first one, Red Dead Redemption 2, where I'm not rushing to get through it. And the storyline has actually gotten to a point where I'm like, I don't want to rush through it anymore. It's gotten, well, I can't spoil anything.
So what you're saying is that we can expect to see a narrative short from this material.
I don't know if I go that far.
I think so.
I don't know if I go that far. Maybe some beautiful highlights.
Yeah,
but I don't. More like a reel and less narrative because I'm not recording.
I know, but what if?
No, that's what I'm trying to get to. I guess is where are we? I mean, I think it's called machinima or something. Is the term they use for creating narratives and fictional videos through video games.
Mm-hmm.
And Rooster Teeth, yeah. Rooster Teeth was like the first huge one to do that with the Halo franchise.
Based out of Austin, Texas.
Right.
Yep.
And they did Red versus Blue.
Yep.
And so, I mean, Red versus Blue was something that like I was buying copies of that physically from Rooster Teeth's website in DVD form. This was years ago now, but I have like the first 4 seasons, they called them, on DVD. And like, it's amazing to think that there is, I can't think of another medium, I guess, where you're creating content that somebody else already created, where you're kind of remixing it. Not maybe not remix. That's a poor choice of words because you can remix audio, but I don't know. I mean, you're creating your own storylines, you're creating your own visuals, your own compositions and everything through somebody else's, ones and zeros that they already made. And you can take it anywhere. It's pretty limitless in that regard.
It kind of goes back to that argument that we had about filmmaking. You remember? We were talking about, like, that is not filmmaking.
So we cut this out.
Oh, we did,
of one of the episodes, but I'll bring it up now. So we were talking off. It wasn't really off mic, but it
was off cuff.
It got a little heated, and we were discussing Twitch,
right?
And whether or not Twitch was
streaming, was
an actual filmmaking, outlet, I guess.
Right.
Now I know there are people that probably do stream filmmaking or upload videos of filmmaking stuff to Twitch. But for the most part, it is just people playing video games with a camera on them,
right?
Doing a picture-in-picture style thing. And you brought up that is a form of filmmaking and telling a story. Mm-hmm. And I argued rather heatedly about it that it is not at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is great. This is a great conversation.
Well, I think it's a conversation that probably needs to be had by, probably people that are way more involved in the industry.
So Rockstar, if you're listening, what we're saying is we need a representative to come and sit with us and talk through whether or not this, from the gaming standpoint, would you consider that? And then maybe another film industry person that's on the other side of the spectrum, and then have even a more colorful discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd like to see if we could get somebody that actually does Twitch streaming and would consider themselves a, I don't know if they would call themselves a filmmaker, but a content creator in the sense of what
Right.
YouTube is doing.
Right.
Because YouTube is a video platform where you're uploading created content or just recorded content. I mean, for the most part, the stuff that we're talking about, YouTube is a big outlet. It's not in the same vein as where almost everything on Vimeo is created just by filmmakers.
Right.
But YouTube has a lot of that, but YouTube also has live streaming as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of different elements. I mean, but it's interesting. I find it fascinating that like you are essentially creating cinematic experiences in your gameplay that could be utilized for a narrative film. Like if you,
I guess. I mean, is that what happens on Twitch though?
Not necessarily, but I'm just thinking outside the box.
I'm essentially recording moments that I could go back in and cut together later on. But whereas Twitch is just a live stream of somebody playing League of Legends or something,
right?
Where that to me, I mean, I'm going to sound like grumpy old Scrooge, get off my porch.
This is great because I'm supposed to be the grumpy old guy.
I know.
We turn the table.
See, I'm the film purist though out of the two of us, where I'm definitely a film snob.
Yeah.
And I don't think Twitch is creative content
well, let's
creation.
Let's take Twitch out of the equation and talk about gameplay. Is gameplay a creative, like you're creating content? Because even though within the framework of the game, if it's Fortnite or Call of Duty or Red Dead Redemption or whatever, Borderlands or
I guess
Overwatch, whatever game it is,
I guess my argument would be
playing, like
you're playing it,
you're controlling the character.
But you're on rails for things that have stories.
Yes.
Fortnite doesn't have a story.
Correct.
So there's no script to that. There's no story to that. You're defending yourself and building stupid buildings. I mean, for the most part, they're pretty silly looking buildings that you're building.
Perhaps.
But what?
I mean, because there's a person attached to that who has a story, but
they're not telling it through Fortnite.
Yeah.
I guess where it would change is if you took, because the argument could be made in the same vein of what I brought up earlier, Rooster Teeth, multiplayer on Halo was not a story.
Right.
But they took it and then they created it into a story.
Right.
But here's the difference in that, and I think this comes down to pre-produced versus live. I think that if it's live, it's not storytelling.
This is a good argument too.
I know. But what I'm going to get into with that is that you don't have a script for Twitch streaming World of Warcraft, or you don't have a script for Twitch streaming Mario Kart.
Well, I'm going to take it a different direction. I'm going to take the live argument being that it could be storytelling in the sense that I'm going to pull from my sports background. So you have Super Bowl that's happening. That's a live broadcasted event, and there is a ton of story in that. You've got two opposing teams. You've got the two quarterbacks, whoever that's going to be this year. Hopefully not Tom Brady again, but
it's got to cover all the fingers, man.
Yeah, but there is a story element in that, and like for example, when it was, I forget what year it was, but when you had the Patriots playing Seattle and
Seahawks,
and you had Tom Brady versus what's the cornerback's name? I'm totally drawing a blank. Sherman, and I mean, there was this kind of back and forth that happened in the media, so story is developed.
Yeah, okay.
So just thinking through that in that realm, there's definitely story in broadcasts. So, but this is good. This is great.
Curious,
this
though,
is good stuff.
Live events don't require the viewer to have a previous idea of what is happening. Anybody can walk into the Super
And
Bowl.
pre-produced stuff does.
Well, hang on, I'm getting to the point. Yeah, that didn't make any sense. So what I'm trying to say is you can walk into the game in February, the Super Bowl, and have no idea like who the quarterback is or anything. Like my wife can walk in and watch it. I'm not picking on women. I'm just saying my wife does not care about football at all. So she could walk in and pick it up and enjoy the sport for what it is and have no idea about what you just mentioned with Brady and all the
Sure.
stuff beforehand.
Sure.
You can't do the same with a movie. You can't just go into a movie and then there just be stuff on screen that you can't comprehend. There's a story there and there has to be a script there.
Yeah, they've got to tell that story. Obviously, in a live broadcast, the more you're paying attention to it, of course, the more you're going to understand.
Yeah.
You're going to buy into that. You're going to understand why Richard Sherman's going nuts when he just pick six Tom Brady and like doing whatever he does to the camera. And then that would make sense, where if you don't have that framework or that background,
you don't care.
That backstory, you're like,
okay, cool.
Like,
He
okay,
caught another
cool.
pass. Yeah.
Is he going to get a flag
Right.
for all that touchdown dance or
Right.
whatever?
So I guess that would be my, I don't know if that's even an argument, but that would be my point to bring up, is that those live elements don't have stories to them. Now, I just want to make it clear. I'm only referring to live events, like live sporting. I think ESPN and NFL Films put out some of the best documentaries
For sure. Yeah,
out
that's
there.
that's
which
not
those
what we're
are
talking
clearly
about. Yeah.
stories. But I just don't think that I just don't think that you have to know anything about it to enjoy that, and you don't have to know anything about Twitch to enjoy it. But I still don't think that it's a filmmaking medium in the sense of what I'm talking about, those live picture-in-picture moments. Now, if somebody is recording themselves playing World of Warcraft, I'll bring it up again, and they're like voicing each character that they come in. They're creating an interesting like little animated voice to each one,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're uploading that. That would be filmmaking.
Yeah.
But I don't see esports in this case as a creative filmmaking medium at all. So,
But everybody wants to see your Arthur Morgan narrative, Red Dead Redemption. And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, let's ask the audience. Hey, you guys post up. Please post, tweet at Zach Abbott's.
Tweet me your best Arthur Morgan memes,
the
please.
Easy Podcast, and say, yes, we want to see the narrative short of what Zach's created from Red Dead Redemption 2.
I think after I finish the story, I'll probably go back with more of an intent on doing some stuff just to see what can happen.
Yeah.
And the thing that's actually really cool about some of the gear that we have is so like I can record my Xbox right into the Atomos Shoguns that we have. So yeah, I might do that. I don't know.
Also not a sponsored plug, but Atomos, if you're listening.
Yeah. Well, best field recorders I know for video.
Yeah. Don't spend money on just a monitor. Get a monitor and recorder, because it's going to help raise your game.
Yeah. And ProRes.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on a Mac especially. So, all right. That's me rambling.
We're not going to turn this into a Mac rant because of all the
You already brought up Twitch. Don't bring up Mac.
Yeah.
Especially don't bring up Adobe. All right.
Yeah, exactly my point.
Mad enough.
I'm not going to tell you my tweet. If you're following me on Twitter, then you've already seen my rants this week about Call of Duty crashing, which isn't Mac or Adobe related.
No.
There were just way too many computers and software crashes this week.
Okay. It's only, a $70 game
Right.
that's from a AAA company
Right.
that's
I'm
the
like,
second biggest in the world.
I know. I'm like, come on, party people.
Yeah.
It's not working.
I think maybe that's a lot of my enjoyment with the Red Dead game also is there's not a whole lot of that issue, and I'm not reliant on other people doing things a certain way. And
right.
being a filmmaker and being a movie buff, I do love single player games because it allows you to have an actual story. And I was kind of bummed that the new Black Ops didn't have a story mode, but whatever.
I mean, there is a bit of that. I mean,
Yeah, it's like a weird character novella.
well, yeah, and then you go into, when you do the training,
Yeah.
they give for you train the different characters, then it gives you
Right.
that. Yeah, but you're right. It's
Not in the old way that it used to be.
no, not at all.
Which I think Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2 are probably two of the best like stories for action games in the last decade, or
Yep.
it's probably older than that now. Gosh. All right, let's talk movies.
Yeah,
We've talked enough about video games. We've talked enough
Yeah.
about Twitch. Let's get into you want to do Wreck-It Ralph first?
sure.
You didn't like this, did you?
To say I didn't like it is probably a little harsh. I liked it. It was good. I did enjoy all the different nods that Disney threw in there. I mean, I like I don't want to get too spoilery,
Yeah, let's try and keep it non-spoilers.
but
for
there's
right now.
there's a lot of. I mean, it's a Disney film. There's a lot of Disney references in there to
A lot.
other, which I enjoyed actually. There was a lot and it was in your face, but it wasn't done in a way where I was offended by it. I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh yeah, that's cool. There was one in particular that I actually tweeted you or texted you about that I really enjoyed that I'm not going to give up.
Yeah. I'm actually on the opposite side of you on this, where I got annoyed with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Like it was a marketing, like
Yeah.
we're just going to market everything else that we've done. And
Yeah, and I think it was mostly because I don't know. I mean, look, you and I not the demographic for this movie.
right.
I enjoyed the first one a lot. I thought it was a great just film in general. The animation is so tight on these. It's just they look amazing.
Yeah, it did.
But it just felt like if you come across like the Disney website, it was everything you could go to
Mm-hmm.
on the Disney website, and not so much like the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was it's in the trailers, so I'm not spoiling anything, but where the main little girl, Vanellope, voiced by Sarah Silverman, is she's running around and she bumps into stormtroopers.
Yes.
And I don't know if I'm just still burnt from
Disney killing Star Wars,
yeah,
basically.
kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't want to get into that conversation because I think Force Awakens is a really great like movie. I don't think it's
Thanks, J.J. Abrams.
yeah. I think a lot has to do with that being J.J. Abrams as a
Absolutely.
very competent and good director.
Yep. Agreed.
I don't want to get into Last Jedi at all or Solo, but I
You
think
mean
I'm
so
just
long.
yeah, that's good.
So long.
Zing. I just I don't know if it's because I still have that sour taste in my mouth, maybe, but because when she walks in and it's like Disney land basically,
Right.
and Iron Man flies through and a bunch of other stuff happens, and
Yeah, that irritated me.
it just felt like
that.
such
I'm
a
like, oh
pop-up.
yeah.
It felt like a pop-up ad for everything Disney.
I'm like, oh, I know that Disney owns Marvel, and I know I'm a huge Marvel geek, and that was like, oh yeah, I'd rather not it like actually be associated.
Yeah. I know that like every character in the internet perspective in this movie was like an avatar of themselves, but for some reason it felt weird like seeing I don't know, like computer animated stormtroopers or computer animated Iron Man, like cartoony,
Right.
and not like photorealistic or something, because I feel like if you're searching on the internet,
You're gonna get a mix of both.
yeah. I guess there was just
So is it now more of a technical thing about the internet? Because I've had that too. Like for me, that was my big, like the whole, okay, I'm trying to avoid the spoilery part, but it's hard. there's an element. I mean, obviously, it's an internet. Internet's in the title, so Ralph is breaking the internet, and I'm not going to say how, but when the thing that breaks the internet that Ralph has a part of was so not how they actually. I mean, being a programmer for 15 years,
Yeah.
I'm like,
This wouldn't work.
it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm like, okay, and
Yeah, I had a couple issues with. I think that's kind of what my main issue with this movie was the world building wasn't strict enough. It was like it was literal when it wanted to be, but then it was very fluid when they needed it to be fluid.
right. Which is not the case at all. There are definite rules. I mean, come on, did we not watch The Matrix? I mean, you bending the rules is fine if you're the coder, or the architect, because you're making the rules.
Right.
But you're still rules that apply.
And I realize how ridiculous this complaint sounds because this is an animated
It is
fantasy
It's
film for kids. But at the same time, I think, we talked about story last episode with Fantastic Beasts
Yeah.
and characters.
Yeah.
And in this, not so much story, but I would say like settings and environment and rules. Like your movie has to have rules that it lives by.
Yeah.
A perfect example of rules that work in a movie, but then they also don't work and they exploit those rules is like The Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
They show you the rules, they show you how that world works, and then they break those rules on purpose because that's how they have to. Spoiler alert for a 40-year-old movie, defeat Freddy. Even though this is a kids movie, even though this is an animated fantasy film, fantasy movies have to have rules that world lives in, or it's not believable, and you can't. I personally can't get invested in.
Here's the irony. Ralph breaks the rules in the Sugar Rush game. Sugar Rush. Right. And then that's what sends this whole thing off into this whole internet.
It happens in the first 15 minutes, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting.
There's a lot of this movie that I want to talk about. We're gonna have to get into spoilers, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So
if I would recommend this movie or not.
Spoiler alert.
Hang on. First, would you recommend this movie for people to go?
Yes. Here's why. Because I did go with the demo. My daughter, who just turned 12, she liked it. It wasn't her all-time favorite, but she thoroughly enjoyed going to see it. Yeah. It was her choice, and we're like, okay, we're in.
Right.
In front of us, there was a row of a couple of families, and there was probably half a dozen kids that were between the ages of 4 and 6. And they were dancing out of their seats. They were dancing during the different segments that had music that was playing. And the kids were just out of their minds. They just let, and some of them were scared because, it gets a little ominous there for a minute, right. And Penelope's in trouble and Penelope. But,
So you'd recommend this?
I would. I mean,
if you have kids
what it was made for and the target audience that it was produced for, it totally nails that, and it's a win for them.
I think I'd recommend it too, even though there is a lot of heavy-handedness in the Disney movie world, and then also kind of a weird product placement side of it too, that I felt, especially with the eBay aspect of it. It's still a really, really solid movie, right. And something that, again, kind of harkening back to us talking about Red Dead, is animation has gotten to a point where it's just gorgeous to look at.
It is.
Because you can
the
create
CGI is
anything
amazing.
that you want, and the detailing is so good. But the thing that's interesting about it is incredible detail, but unique character designs. It's not like you're just creating a cat, like a real cat or a real dog or a CG photorealistic looking person. You have these great animations, but with computer video game looking characters, and I think it's great. I think it's an interesting movie just from an art directive
for sure,
standpoint.
Absolutely. And I would love to like have an animator on, and talk through some of those types of things. And I think one of the things for me, especially when watching these now, obviously, as I've had kids and I've taken them to see these movies, the thing that really grabs me is how does it pull on the human element? Can I get past that it's animated?
Yeah.
Like Finding Nemo. You got past it. I mean,
within the first 15 minutes.
Yeah,
of that movie,
they could have been real fish.
Yeah,
I mean, and you get pulled in by how well it was done, because there aren't these stumbling blocks.
Right.
These technical stumbling blocks. You're like, and that for me, when I go to see a movie, coming from a filmmaker standpoint, I come in, and if you can draw me in beyond the technical into the story, where now I'm relating to the characters, I'm feeling something. Okay, I'm gonna be transparent here. I got a little emotional at the there's a conclusion. So do we want to spoil?
Let's. Okay.
Okay. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Spoiler alert for Wreck-It Ralph 2.
So if you don't want it spoiled, push pause and then fast forward to wherever the next marker is when we talk about Creed. But
go see
this
it.
part.
It's good. It's a good movie. So go see it.
The part for me where now I didn't actually cry but my daughter was like, you're crying.
Mushy.
I'm like, I wasn't crying. Did you see anything? No. And this is an argument we have. She'll look and I might be tired and my eyes are a little watery.
You've seen Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs?
Yes.
And the Mr. T's character, and he
and he comes back up.
And he goes, get back in there. Yeah. Every time I'm like nearing crying a movie.
Absolutely. And I wasn't like that worked up, but what happened was, okay, here's the spoiler, where Ralph has to realize that he has to let go. Like he has to let go of his relationship if, she's growing up and going on a different direction. And for me, the space that I'm in, I'm a dad with my two older kids have recently flown the coop. So
twice.
It really pulled on that heartstring. And so for me, I was pulled into it.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a great movie. Go see it. Don't, what Zach's saying on with the
it's
true. It's true.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
I'm being
a lot
really
of gratuitous
analytical on it, but I don't think it doesn't hurt the movie from like being able to enjoy it aspect at all.
Right.
The one thing that I do want to say now that we're in spoilers is that the one part that I really liked about it is, and I can't remember the character's name, but it's the blue girl who is in charge of BuzzTube.
Oh, right, yeah.
How that character didn't end up being a bad person.
Right.
Like they're really the thing that's great about this movie that I think really works from a story perspective is that it's a movie that doesn't really have a villain except for yourself.
Right.
It's a movie about like inner demons, kind of.
Yes, absolutely.
And that was a really, really interesting aspect of it to me.
I did like that. I did like the way they put the whole security thing, and it was his insecurity.
Right.
Ralph's insecurities were what caused it. That was a nice spin.
Yeah, and I think it's because in the first one they had the Candy King guy. He ends up being a bad guy, and then they do the twist, which is in almost every Disney movie. There's always that kind of a twist. This one didn't have that. It was a guy, Wreck-It Ralph. Ralph, he is the one that's damaging. He's the one that's ruining things. He from the beginning, changing Vanellope's racetrack leads into her game getting shut down.
Good intentions lead to
good
bad
intentions that weren't thought
consequences.
Out. Right. It's a movie about consequences, and I really, really enjoyed it. There was kind of a nice little, King Kong moment there too, with the millions of Ralphs, running around and then creating one giant Ralph, which is very unsettling. Which I think he says
that's what bothered me.
That's what bothered. Oh, that you didn't like that?
The giant Ralph, but was made up all of the other the other virus Ralphs
Yeah.
is what just I'm like, are you kidding me? First of all, I mean, interesting idea, but that's not how a virus works. A virus,
Yeah, it doesn't pack onto itself
and,
over and over again.
and you're not going to be able to reason with it. I mean, it doesn't. It's not going to
Right.
consolidate to one nicely packed area where you could. So I'm like, I didn't like the gigantic millions of Ralphs making
Yeah.
one big Ralph,
Right.
And then the whole. I'm like, if you wanted King Kong, because that's what happened. It ended up being
Yeah.
like this King Kong thing.
Right.
I'm like, do King Kong.
Yeah, do a giant
Yeah.
single Ralph.
Or make it a Donkey
And-
Kong, right? Because it's
sure.
something. Yeah,
Yeah, it didn't need to be. Yeah, that's a good point.
because a lot of times viruses, they're written in a way to infect and spread, and they morph. So it's not going to be the same exact thing every. I mean, it's just and it's uncontrollable, and it became. I was
Yeah, right.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, again, fantasy
Yeah.
children's movie, but
Yeah,
here
and
we
it
are.
and it looked unsettling
It was
too.
really-
If I was 4 or 5 years old, I'm like,
Yeah.
what is that? I mean, it was
There's this I don't know if I'd recommend it, but yeah, I'd recommend it. It's pretty messed up, but Oats Studios, so OATS Studios, is Neil Blomkamp's studio that he's been releasing some stuff on just YouTube on his own. Neil Blomkamp did District 9 and Chappie and Elysium.
yeah.
Anyways, he's the director for that.
Yeah.
So,
I actually enjoyed those.
yeah, but he's been releasing these little shorts on little shorts. They're like high budget shorts, but they don't cost a whole lot. They're just him and like a very, very small crew doing these really, really great things. But in one of them, it's not Firebase, that's the Vietnam one, but there's another one with, I think it's Dakota Fanning, isn't it? And she's on like a military base or something like that, and this monster kind of comes and then eats. Basically, it absorbs everybody that it comes in contact with, and by the end of it, it just looks like this just disturbing blob of like hands and eyes and feet and and hair and heads and just going everywhere, and it's so unsettling. And so when I saw the Wreck-It Ralph movie and that came up, that was the first thing that went into my head was that Oats Studio
Don't look
thing.
at his brother.
Oh,
Right?
Oh, yeah, I don't want to even get into that.
Don't look at his brother.
I actually didn't like that.
I know that the whole thing didn't fit well.
Yeah,
That was kind of out of place with
yeah.
don't
There was a lot of character design that I felt out of place. It made sense in the context of like the arcade because you had different video games.
right.
But for some reason, like every internet character that was only on the internet kind of all looked different.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't like usually when you do character designs for like a group of people, they kind of have some similarities.
Right.
That way you can kind of tell like where they're from.
All the bots were with that square head thing.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess character design was just didn't really hit me right on some of them. I mean, the Blob character, which was Alfred Molina, I think was the character or the actor that did that voice. But anyways, what was I talking about before? I was talking about something.
You were talking about that big blob thing with the eyes and
Oh, right. Oats
Yeah,
Studio. Yeah. It was a lot more unsettling for me, I think, because I had seen that horror short film on YouTube like a month ago. And in my head, I was like, oh gosh, it's just a giant Ralph version of that. It was gross.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, I think my favorite aspect of it is kind of the unconventional route that they went with the story twist. Even though it isn't really a twist, it's a story about inner demons and like inner insecurities and how those insecurities, like if you don't get a handle on them or you don't respect them, can just send you down a path of like complete destruction.
right. Right. Absolutely.
And I thought it was a much better route to go than just like having somebody that's like, oh, the internet's bad, or like
Right.
showing that this BuzzTube, which was clearly like a knock on BuzzFeed and YouTube, was like this bad website or something like that. There wasn't any of that,
Right.
which I thought was a really great way to approach the story, at least. Was
Yeah,
to
and they
make it
did talk
more
about the dark
personal.
web, right?
Yeah, they go down to it. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
go
okay,
down-
how much are we going to get in? Because it was
Right,
like
yeah.
that was a, no pun intended, but that was a dark thing to put into this movie.
It was.
You could have,
But I think they treated it
safe.
I mean, I
They
mean,
went
it was
a very safe route.
yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. As a kid, you see that and you're like, dark web, what is that? And
Well,
then
now
you
if
start
I was a
going
kid,
to
though, I
night-
wonder if I would go and look for it.
perhaps.
Which that's not good.
No, it's not.
So I don't know. Yeah, that might be a catch-22 there.
Yeah, it is.
Anyways, go see it. I think it's definitely worth watching. Maybe not in the theater. I don't know.
Is it PG-13?
No, it's PG.
It's PG.
Yeah, it's PG. So I mean, yeah, go check it out. It's a good movie. Solid sequel. At least it wasn't like there was no part of it was like, oh man, this really sucks. Like compared to the first one.
Right.
I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with the most of it. I know I'm kind of picking it apart, but that's why we're doing this podcast. is
That's
to talk about
exactly
it. So,
why.
the second movie, though, I actually saw Friday, and you saw just
Yeah.
45 minutes ago. Creed 2.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or as I want to refer to it as from the now on is Rocky's
Rocky
Greatest
8?
Hits.
Rocky's Greatest Hits.
Rocky's Greatest Hits, because this movie is
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 that
Rocky
like a
one-
punch reference with the hits?
oh hey
look at you
man, we're
doing
so
it again.
punny this episode. I think it's funny because this movie is basically Rocky 1, 2, 3, and 4 in one movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so you're going to get a seriously fresh out of the movie theater's perspective today on this one for me. Man, this is not a boxing movie. This is not boxing. This is about life. And I think that's why The Rock, I mean, you're talking about a franchise of 8 films over the course of 30 some
75.
So
75
40
was the first one, yeah.
40 years. And so why did they work? And I was really thinking about this and what was I going to talk about regarding Rocky? I mean, some people might go, "Oh, that's a tired franchise." It's the Creed reboot was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great new. But it's not about. I think it's just life. I think it's the life cycle, right?
This series should be tired.
It should be,
but it's not.
But it isn't, because it's relatable.
I think that's exactly it. Is it's putting realistic, maybe not realistic, that might be a stretch, but it's putting real life moments in with these extraordinary other extraordinary moments,
right?
These movie moments, But you're still able to connect on a emotional level with every character, character. Yeah. This, I think Creed 1's better, just to be clear, definitely from a filmmaking standpoint. Mm-hmm. Creed 2 is it's an incredibly competent, incredibly well crafted, but also just very standard movie.
Yeah.
It
followed the formula.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of risks.
Yeah. You knew he was going to get beat the first time. Yeah. There's going to be a rematch. He was going to win. I mean, you knew that, but it wasn't about. I mean, I even found myself sitting there in the seat going, I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it was what I didn't know was going to happen. Like, I don't know at what point we want to get into spoilers, but I'm on the edge of spoilery.
I know. Yeah. You're really close here. I mean, I think let's talk about some stuff that isn't really spoilers, but, so Creed 1, the first Creed came out a few years ago. Ryan Coogler, who went on to go and do, Black Panther for the MCU, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then, he's working on Black Panther 2, and that was the main reason that he did not get in on this. Mm-hmm. Originally it was supposed to be directed by Sylvester Stallone himself, but then he backed out of it, which I didn't even realize he backed out of it until I saw the credits roll and it said this other guy's name.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? And I could have swore Sylvester did it, but Creed 1 and then also Rocky 1 had two incredibly unique aspects to them from a technical standpoint, I think. And by the way, this is the aspect episode. I keep finding myself saying that word over and over again. But Rocky 1 was the first movie with Steadicam by Garrett Brown.
Really?
Yeah. So at the time, it was
I did not know
Cinema
that.
Products Corporation was his company. And Garrett Brown ran the Steadicam, and it was the first movie to use it. And then it went on to be really famous in The Shining, because they use it for like everything in The Shining. And so it had that going for it, technically. Not to mention, it's just a really tight script and a really great just character movie, Rocky 1. Creed 1 has this scene in it that's it's an entire boxing match, but it's all one take. And that, like, the first time I saw it, I was like, this is incredible.
Right.
Just the timing and the blocking and camera movements. And it's not like just a static shot the whole time. Like, it's moving around,
Right.
Steadicam. It's Steadicam the whole time. And it was awesome.
Yep.
And then this one, it was funny because I was watching it, and there would be like a moment where it's like a take was going a little longer than like a normal shot typically would in an edit. And I'm like, oh, is this going to be a long take? And I kept waiting for it. Spoiler alert for Creed 2. There's no long single take in the whole movie.
Yeah.
I left.
And there was a couple of scenes that were shaky too, since you're bringing up Steadicam, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah,
there
when
was
they're
an
walking through the hospital or something. I'm like,
yeah.
this is a lot. Yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I understand that. I mean, there's handheld in it,
but it didn't feel like it was supposed to be handheld.
It almost felt like a gimbal that was off balance.
Yeah, it was like, why didn't they reshoot that?
Right.
That took me out of the story.
Yeah, there's a couple of those. I mean, if intentional, tell me why. But it felt a little weird. There's definitely a few of those moments. But
so I think I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right, but Steve Capel or Capel, C-A-P-L-E.
I think it's Capel. Junior.
And so Steven, hit us up. Let us know. Was that intentional? I mean, we
you're going to tell me it was.
Yeah,
and even if it wasn't, just to save face. But in whatever, we're not perfect filmmakers either. But at the same time, like, this is a large budgeted movie with a big crew. Like, I've seen some behind the scenes photos of it. They should have known better. And it was all shot digital. It was none of it was on film. So it was on the Arri XT and the Alexa Mini. So I mean, it was. I walked away thinking more about the characters and the script and kind of the legend that is this Rocky franchise, and the history of this Rocky franchise, and just how well this formula, as familiar as the formula is, and it is like paint by numbers, formulaic in the story.
It is
structure.
It is,
but I love these, and I don't know.
It's great.
I don't know why.
It's great.
It's something about it.
Well, I don't know if that's spoilery. I'm really resisting the spoiler.
Okay, we'll get into spoilers in 1 second. I want to say one more thing. Since it is Thanksgiving, or it just was, I was trying to think of Thanksgiving movies, and I couldn't think of a whole lot of movies that take place around Thanksgiving that are good, that are classic, that you can think of. And there's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is the Thanksgiving movie.
Oh yeah,
Steve Martin and John Candy.
Yep.
That's the Thanksgiving movie. There's not really a whole lot other ones that I can think of. If you guys can think of one, tweet at us. But
I can think of one that we play at Thanksgiving.
Well, here's the thing: that's what I was starting to think about. What movies aren't quite Christmas movies, but still have that like kind of feel of that time of the year? And I think it's the Rocky series is one of those franchises that feels kind of like a Thanksgiving film.
Yeah.
Even though it's not necessarily, but they're almost always cold. And they're never
the original shot in Philadelphia.
Yeah, right. So you get
wintertime.
It's kind of just the atmosphere of those movies really just makes me think of this season, this late fall, early winter season in Philadelphia. The other one is the Harry Potter series. Even though there's a bunch of Christmas in the Harry Potter series, I always think of
Right.
Thanksgiving time
Yeah.
because of I don't know if that's when
Yeah.
they released them originally. Maybe that's why. But
But it just feels
yeah, it
seasonal.
has this seasonal feeling to it.
Yeah.
So if you can think of any Thanksgiving movies or a movie that really kind of puts you in the Thanksgiving vibe, tweet at us at the Easy Podcast and let us know, because I mean I'm always trying to find movies to watch around different holidays to kind
Right,
of put
yeah.
me in the mood.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I think on this one,
Do you need to go into spoilers?
I kind of
Okay. Creed 2. Would you recommend Creed 2?
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
It's
See it.
a
It's
solid sequel.
again, it's not a boxing movie. This is a life movie.
Yeah.
This is about, I mean, we can get metaphorical or whatnot, but it's fighting. I mean, a lot like Wreck-It Ralph, there's fighting the inner demons and what that looks like. And nobody can fight that fight except for you.
Right.
And this movie does a great job about telling that story.
Yeah, I think that's
visually, direct, the edit. I mean, every aspect of it serves this story well.
It's really solid.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, even though it might not leap off the screen in certain ways, it's a really, really well made movie
yeah,
in a lot of ways. So yeah, I would recommend it too. I think you hit the nail on the head though with the human aspect of it. I think that's the fight. That's the fight in these Rocky movies, and that's why people keep going to see them.
yeah,
Yeah, I think being able to connect to the audience and that, because everybody's got a personal fight that they're
Exactly.
dealing with, and you can
Exactly.
always connect to that somehow. So yeah, I'd recommend seeing it. So go see Creed 2, guys. We're gonna get into spoilers though.
yeah. So,
right.
spoiler alert. Okay, it hit me like a ton of bricks in the final fight. I think it was around 8 or around 9, and they cue and it was kind of the turning point in the final fight, and they cue the original score.
Dun, 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 dun,
Oh,
dun, dun, dun.
I just lost my junk. It was awesome.
Like,
I mean,
like you were crying?
well, I'm not going to say I shed tears over the thing, because I didn't.
Okay.
But
I mean, that's all right if you
but
did.
I got emotional. I'm like,
Yeah?
I was like, oh, I mean, it just hit me like a ton. I was like, yes. I
It
mean,
is,
it was
one of the best songs
But
ever.
I mean, but it was the timing.
Yeah.
The timing when they played that. I mean, it was you want to just talk about plucking the big bass bass string of your heart right there. Boom. I mean, it was just like right.
Yeah, the edit is pretty perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was reading some other reviews on this after I saw it, and just kind of seeing what other people were saying about it. And I think it was either Variety or Vulture, I can't remember, but they were saying how the movie felt more like a Rocky movie than a Creed movie. And I mean, I see where they're coming from. A couple of aspects, there it is again, aspect. A couple of points that they had was, the first time you see Creed's kid, well, it's when Rocky's seeing him.
Right.
And you're living a lot of these moments like kind of like with Rocky and less with Creed.
Right.
And some of it, but I don't know where they're going to go with these. I assume they'll do at least one more. Do a trilogy with Michael B. Jordan, which would
be great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, would love it. I would go see 3 for sure.
I mean, I'd see 5 more of these, but Sylvester, here's what I'm trying to get to is this movie felt like the middle movie for a reason. It felt like the end of Rocky.
The beginning of the end.
The end of Rocky. Like, I think this felt like it was the end of Rocky, and now it's Creed. And now it can be Creed or another character.
Hence the line where he says it's your turn.
Yeah. There's a lot of script moments in there, and then also there's a moment where we're in spoilers. So if you're still listening and you haven't seen it, you don't care about spoilers, or you're just a masochist, that's fine. But
yes, because we did give you the spoiler warning about 3 or 4 minutes ago.
And also, it's not much of a spoiler to say that Creed does win the final fight. I mean, it wouldn't
Right.
it wouldn't be a good movie if he didn't.
You knew that before you went to see it.
Although he loses in Rocky, so I guess maybe you don't know that. But he beats Victor Drago, and which, by the way, sorry, side note, Dolph Lundgren's great in this. Like, he's actually really good in this.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, this is going to be a sidetrack here. I really liked how the movie starting with them.
Mm-hmm.
And in its cold, just broken down Ukraine. And then you get this story later on of like why they're in the Ukraine and not Russia. And it's because he got kicked out after he lost to Rocky in Russia and all this stuff. And
they got ostracized.
Yeah, I really, really liked that. And just the editing and the pacing and the shots, and like they're not saying anything, but you know like what's happening. By the way, that actor that played Victor is huge.
Oh my gosh, the dude's a monster.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, when they're doing like the kind of like the versus workout montage of each other, and the dude is a freaking beast.
Yeah, the first montage was like, you're going to get crushed.
Yeah, there was no way. But anyways, I thought he was great. He's actually an MMA actor. MMA fighter.
Really?
Yeah. And he submitted a tape, and then he petitioned hard for it on social media, I guess, and then ended up getting in and getting the job. And I thought he was really good in it. So I'm sure he'll go on to do more stuff like, Drax does now.
Right.
Dave Bautista does now. So
Florian Munteanu.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the last name, so apologize, Florian, for that. But
yeah, we know you're listening.
Please don't at me.
Or do, and let us know how you say it. But anyways, I think this. Yeah, back to my statement saying this is the end of Rocky. Is there's a lot of script moments that lead that way, and then there's also just the final shot of the fight isn't with Creed in the ring, isn't Creed celebrating with his fiance and baby and mom, and it's of Rocky
from behind
taking a step back. He's not in the ring anymore. He sits down.
Yeah,
and he's done.
And it's like this pull away shot. And
it
was really kind of nicely done.
Yeah, I will say that there's not a big long single take, but it does feel, this scene in particular stuck out to me in the way of how cinematography should help tell the story.
Yes.
Because the feeling that you're supposed to be getting is that Rocky's done. He's done with it. He's not fighting anymore. And the camera pulling away from Rocky, and you see Creed in big letters on his back, just letting you know, like that's who the new guy is now. This is what the legacy is going to continue on with. And it was a great storytelling perspective from cinematography alone.
Yeah,
you didn't need to say anything.
Yep.
You got it all just from his emotion, his facial expressions, his body language of sitting down in the chair, and then the camera pulling away from Rocky, because we've always gone to Rocky in the whole series. I've always wanted to see what he was doing, where he was going. And this is it. This was the end of it. And then of course he has a nice bow at the end too, that he finally goes and he sees his kid for the first time in like 12 years or whatever.
I was wondering if you were going to totally spoil that one.
Well, I just did. We're in spoilers, so
we are in spoilers,
which I think is really interesting because the actor that played his son in Balboa, I guess that was 12 years ago now. He reprises it for this. It's the same actor that was his kid in that movie. So I thought that was cool that they were able to bring it back. And that actor's huge now. He's in This Is Us, and he was on Heroes and Gilmore Girls and a bunch of other stuff. So, but he's really big right now on NBC's This Is Us, which is a show that you should definitely check out. Storytelling and characters and moments and real life and cinematography, like kind of unconventional, naturalistic cinematography in a lot of ways. It's a really great show. So I'd recommend checking that out. But yeah, I think this movie, even though it's called Creed 2, it definitely leaned more towards, Rocky 8 in a lot of ways, but it felt earned, and it felt needed. Yeah. To not, if you were going to continue on with this series, to have another movie, maybe Coogler comes back after, Black Panther 2. He does.
I would
ends
love
up
to
coming
have
and
Ryan
doing Creed
Coogler
3.
back.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be great.
be-
Maybe he does, but now you're not living in the shadow
right.
of Rocky and Sylvester Stallone anymore.
Right. Now it's a new, it's
blank slate.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do.
Well, it's interesting to me. You told me a stat earlier in the week. What was that Sylvester Stallone was doing this film was 2 years older than the actor that played Mickey, which was his original, Rocky Balboa's
coach, right?
Yeah, his trainer. And so, like I said in the beginning, it's a movie about life, right? There's a life cycle that happens, and we've seen Rocky now take that coach trainer role like Mick, and even I forget which one it was, if it was Rocky 2 or Rocky 3 where Mick dies. And that's part of life. I mean, it's a life cycle, and to see that he's passing down the things that he's learned, not just in the ring, not just boxing, but life, and the life lesson about what's important to you, what are you fighting for.
Right.
And I think that's a huge lesson that a lot of people need to be reminded of, which is why this movie's like, I'm 100% in, because it does, even the issue with the baby, right?
Yeah, right.
And the baby comes out, and there's
you could have went completely Happy Hollywood.
You didn't, and there's an issue. That's real life.
Yeah, right.
You're like, wow, and she, what's her name?
Tessa Thompson.
Tessa Thompson's character has hearing problems.
Yeah,
and that the baby ends up having. You don't know what but you see in the final where the baby has hearing aids and this type of thing, and that's a fight. But I appreciated, just the dialogue and the script writing was so good because.
Well, yeah, in that I think the script writing's great in that scene where they are doing the hearing tests because there isn't any dialogue,
right?
And I think it's something that I love so much about directors and storytelling, of just letting the emotion and facial expressions
let the moment tell the story. Exactly. But the dialogue that I did appreciate that was written was when Rocky addresses him right outside the room, and he says, are you gonna love her?
Right.
And he was like, of course. He was almost offended that he asked that.
Yeah.
Right. And he says, because she doesn't feel sorry for herself, so you shouldn't feel sorry for her.
Yeah.
And that was like, boom, I hit you like a ton of bricks. Like, don't look down on this kid. Like, and me being Mr. Positive, I'm like, yeah, okay, so they'll have sign, there'll be sign language.
Yeah.
That's, that just is what it is.
Way of life, right?
And, I think just the way that they treated real life moments, like you said, great choice of when to include dialogue, when not to include it, letting the moments tell the story. I was totally pulled in. And I go in and I'm like, oh, that's a jib shot. Oh, that's a nice slider shot. Yeah. Oh, that's a nice steady cam shot. And, I'm thinking, like, my brain's going 100 miles an hour behind the line as I'm watching the film. Like, I'm hearing the director cut,
right, yeah.
I got out of that real quick. Like, the way it was done well. The use of dialogue was well placed, and the use of no dialogue was well placed, to your point. So, yeah, great movie about the fight of life, and it's not always roses. And I think there's a dose of reality that comes with it, but you walk away hopeful. And I think that's the thing that a lot of this world needs is hope.
Yeah, right.
You spend 5 minutes on the internet and it looks pretty hopeless, but
right.
This is it's a little over 2 hours, 2:10.
Yeah.
And it's 2 hours and 10 minutes of going for
It felt pretty
ride,
brisk, actually.
but yeah, it didn't feel like it dragged. The pacing was well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was.
Yeah, I mean, on a second watch, I might say, "Oh, you could have shortened that or something," but I didn't walk away immediately thinking,
you would re-edit this.
Get this.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Venom or something, where I just walked away thinking, "Gosh, there's 30 things I would have done differently in that situation." But so yeah, check it out. Creed 2 and Wreck-It Ralph 2. So I think that about does it for us talking about these movies.
Yeah.
Anything
So
else you wanna add?
what are we excited about that's coming up? Man, I saw a bunch of trailers. I'm like, oh, yep, gonna see that. So we got a bunch of stuff coming out for the holiday season
I saw a bunch of trailers.
that you didn't want to see.
Exactly.
Like, nope.
There was a bunch of stuff before Wreck-It Ralph where I was like, I have no interest in this at all.
Yeah, that's so funny because I had the same experience. But the ones that I saw in front of Creed, I'm like, yeah, that's one of the things that my youngest daughter, when we go, we'll sit through the trailers and we'll just look at each other and we'll either say yes or no.
Yeah, my wife
We'll
does
go-
that too.
We'll go, uh-huh.
My wife will give me kind of like this like eyebrow raise of like, really? I'm like, I love you.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything in particular?
Glass.
Oh, Glass. Yeah, you saw the preview for that.
Yeah. I've
does
seen the
look pretty
preview
good.
a couple times.
Yeah.
And I actually want to go back and watch Unbreakable and Split.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, because I want to be fresh just when I walk
right,
in.
right.
I do want to see Aquaman.
I have no desire. We'll see it for this show.
I want to see it. I kind of want to see. I mean, the CGI and it looks amazing, and I'm
It's just-
kind of drawn in by the disco lights and all the neon.
Man,
But
yeah, well,
I mean, just
that's
for
how they're going to get the majority of
from an
people
eye
into the
candy
theater.
from
It
an eye
is-
candy
yeah,
standpoint, I'm kind of
That's what they're relying on.
yeah.
They're relying on people not to care about character development and story because
Trust me, I know
the
it's a DC.
dialogue
It's a DC
is
movie.
So cringy, like it's
Yeah.
just poor. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't really have a desire to see it. I'll see it for this though. But yeah,
I'm not gonna make you see it if you don't want to see it. I'll go see it, and then I can tell you how bad it was.
and then I'll go see it and laugh at it. Or
I mean,
no. Here's the thing.
If there's
I went into
nothing else
Venom
to go to watch,
this, yeah, because it's in December. I don't know. What
I'm
there
not
will
going to
be,
make
but-
you see a DC movie. I will make you see a Marvel movie, even if it's bad, and I've already done that. So you know
That
what to
doesn't count.
expect.
Venom doesn't count. It's not a real Marvel movie. Oh, that's another trailer I saw in front of freaking Creed 2 is that stupid Dark Phoenix trailer. I'm so tired
yeah,
of it.
I was so cringy
I'm
on
over
that too. I was like,
I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of those characters. I'm tired of it. Just burn out.
I know. It's like,
Well, it was crazy because I was thinking, what other series has been going on this long and still gone nowhere? There isn't any
no,
other
because they
movie
kill
series.
them. They kill. If it doesn't, like,
Yeah.
just kill it.
Yeah.
But
And the
when you
timeline's
sold,
all
here's the
jacked up
problem: you
and-
sold all the rights to all the other characters to other places, so you only got one thing to
I
do.
don't
And
know, just X-Men over and over and over again. Oh, young X-Men. Oh, middle-aged X-Men. Anyways, all right, that's enough. That's enough trailer
X-Men
talk.
Generations. Come over here.
Get over here. All right. Well, that about does it for us. Eric's laughing over here. He's trying to make an old man voice.
Is that you, Cyclops?
Don't make me take my sunglasses off, Sonny.
Those sunglasses are looking a lot more thick than they used to.
Yeah. Well, I can't see where I'm driving anymore. Gene had to take my license away. I retired to Orlando.
We're done.
That's it? Is that the episode?
I can't anymore.
Why do I sound like Jimmy Stewart? Oh, gee. Anyways, that's the episode, guys. Thanks for listening. Oh man, that was episode 10. What a way to go out on it.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving. If you're listening to this not Thanksgiving, happy normal day.
Right.
And we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks.
All right. See you guys.